Hi, welcome to Actual Spinster. My name is Anna Marie. Before I talk about the books I read in May, I just wanted to say that I'm going to link a GoFundMe in my description box that is organised by my friend to help evacuate Ala and her family from Gaza, from Rafah right now is where they are, across the Egyptian border. She has a 9-month-old baby right now. Yeah, so if you can donate, please check it out. Otherwise, like, you can share it, blah blah blah. You probably know the drill by now. So I did talk about a few of these books in my May reading vlog, like the little mini one. I mean during that time I was experiencing more pain, but then when I kind of finished recording was when like my pain flare just increased exponentially. But I did do a little bit more reading. To be honest, I am kind of disappointed because I felt like I was in like a really good momentum and I was like reading through things, and then like I just kind of lost everything and I had to just lie on my acupressure mat for 12 hours a day for a couple days there, which was obviously painful and also just like so boring. And now I kind of have an aversion to lying on my acupressure mat again, so yeah, the reason why I said that though is actually because like some of these books I'm not going to talk about in depth because I talked about them in that video, and quite a lot of them are pretty short. Yeah, I don't know, but I still thought it would be worthwhile to just like chat through my May reading a bit, I guess. So the first book I read in May was Siren Queen by Nevo, and I really enjoyed this. It was a lot of fun. It's like a sapphic kind of historical fantasy sort of, although I think it's very like nebulous in how it does the fantasy aspect, and that's fun. There's like a mystery to it, and there's also like a glamour to it, and that's part of it, isn't it? Because like part of glamour is mystery, isn't it? This is about a like Chinese American girl who lives from Hungarian Hill, coming of age in pre-code Hollywood. That's what it says on the back. And yeah, so she like really wants to become like a film star and be part of Hollywood, and so it's about that, but then also it's kind of about her like resisting or like subverting the tropes that maybe she would have been confined to as like a Chinese American actress. I mean, to some degree obviously like there is also the trope of like this like racialized other as being monstrous, but yeah, as a result of her like rejection of various roles, she takes on the monstrousness of some of them, and so that's sort of also like a kind of theme wending its way. But yeah, it's just also about like ambition, fame, friendship, art, and gay love. It's a lot of fun. I would recommend it. Like, there are some dark elements, but I also just like had a pleasurable time still reading it. The next thing I read was The Lamb Will Slaughter the Lion by Margaret Killjoy, which is a novella. It's really quick to read through. Set at this like squatters town, where like the main character is like traveling to go to try to kind of like uncover the mystery of her friend's suicide, and there is like sort of occult magic going on there. There's a kind of protector spirit that's running rampant, and they're kind of trying to deal with that. It's also about like anarchist foibles, anarchist organizing, care, punk. The next book I read, I returned to the library, and I also did talk quite a lot about this in my reading vlog, and that's The House of Rust by Khadija Abdallah Bajba. Yeah, I really enjoyed this also. I don't think I gave any of these books 5 stars if I remember correctly, but they were all like enjoyable and like they felt solid to me and like interesting, and so yeah. But like The House of Rust is about this girl who has a fisherman for her father, and he goes missing one day, so then she has to kind of figure out what she's gonna do and like maybe go after him and rescue him, who knows. There's also more to it than that, and yeah, it is like a children's book, I think, but it is certainly more dense than I expected it to be from that. But I also loved how kind of like intentional and weighty it is about like the interior life of a girl, and the lessons you learn in childhood, and it has like a respect for the reader, I think, that's really great. I really appreciated reading it, and I'll definitely be interested to see what the author like writes next. And I really would love more people to read it, so if it sounds interesting to you, like, definitely check it out. The next thing I read was Women of the Harlem Renaissance: Poems and Stories, edited by Marissa Constantinou. Yeah, like, I found this like fine. I didn't super enjoy a lot of it. I've definitely said before that like short stories don't really work for me, or like short story collections don't really work for me, I guess is more like the thing, although I am about to talk about another book that like goes against that, but I have kind of realized why. But it was interesting to read more from a few authors, and also to read some authors I'd never read before. I thought it was great to finally read in full The Closing Door by Angelina Weld Grimke, which I read about, and it's really interesting in terms of like Black maternity, reproduction. Obviously The Closing Door is like a really interesting kind of metaphorical womb-like image, or can be read as that. So yeah, that was interesting. I also enjoyed reading Nella Larson's work in this, although actually I will say I think there's 3, is that right? Yeah, there's 3 stories of hers in this, except from one of them, I think it might be The Abyss, but now I can't remember, is, I'm pretty sure, like what was in Quicksand. So I think it's just like a short story version, or like a section. I don't know the order in which she wrote that, so that was a bit disappointing to me, because I was like, oh, I've already read this, like I know what's going on here. There definitely were a few that I did like start and then skip, because I think that's one way to help me get through short story collections, is like just being allowed to like skip a story that I don't feel particularly drawn to reading. Otherwise I think I'll just like stall, and then that's a shame, because there could be other really great stories that I do want to check out. So yeah, there's that. I read the introduction. I also learned some stuff from the introduction that I didn't know, which was good. It's always good when that happens, isn't it? That sounded like so big-headed, like really surprisingly I learned something from this. Crazy. No, but I learned that like a lot of stuff was like calcified about the Harlem Renaissance, and like a particular collection came up about through through the fact that there was a celebration of the publication of Jessie Redmond Fawcett's novel There Is Confusion, which I still haven't read, but that is on my list of books to definitely read, which is really interesting, because a lot of those then like anthologies marginalized women's voices in them, you know, and this, you know, sort of primes itself as a sort of antidote to that. So it's that was really interesting. I think, you know, sometimes it's just like the kind of like the literary historical facts of something is more interesting than the like actual textual work produced, or, you know, obviously I don't think you can really separate one from the other, but sometimes, I don't know if other people feel that way, but sometimes I'm like much more interested in like the material instances, or like the material kind of like background of the creation of work, and the community or the culture that was like formed as a result of it is more interesting than the work itself sometimes, or feels maybe closer or more interesting to kind of understand. I don't know, does that make sense? I hope it does. Okay, so the next book this is where I'm about to be shown off as a massive hypocrite, but that's okay. So this is During Sleepless Nights and Other Stories by Anna Margolin, translated from the Yiddish by Daniel Kennedy, published by Farlag Press, which we love on this channel. And this is, I think, 4 short stories, all written by Anna Margolin, who's very sweet over here. She was actually better known as a poet, a Yiddish poet, although actually I think I was reading something very interesting where it was like a lot of like Yiddish women writers have been like struck into a kind of like poetry only section, and actually they were writing quite a lot of prose too. Hard to describe what these stories about. Lots of loneliness, lots of familial strife, lots of love. I did feel like the first story, which is called From a Diary, reminded me of Miriam Karpilow's Diary of a Lonely Girl. Like, of course, it's about like a woman kind of in a love triangle / like, it's almost like the inverse of the woman who's narrating Diary of a Lonely Girl, actually. One is about like a man toying with a woman, but it's kind of unclear as to whether actually maybe he does like her. So yeah, like, it's, you know, pretty short, and like but I really enjoyed reading this. I think though what I realized is the reason why I really enjoy reading it is not because, whereas with other like short stories or like whatever, I'm much more interested in them as like literary forms. With like Yiddish women's writing, I'm just like so desperate for like Yiddish women's like life and experiences and thoughts that I just like enjoy reading their stories in a way that like maybe kind of isn't so much about me thinking about them as like a short story, or like as, oh, was that effective or was that interesting or whatever, because I'm just like fascinated by their world and the like their imaginary worlds and like all of this stuff. And like I don't know, I realize it's because I'm a bit of a loser about Yiddish and like women, but I don't know, that's okay with me, I accept that. And the final thing I finished in May, quite a while ago now, was this, which was a gift from a friend, which was really lovely of her. This is Camouflage, The Hidden Lives of Autistic Women by Dr. Sarah Bargiela, art by Sophie Standing. And it's like, I don't want to call it a comic book, it's like a graphic non-fiction kind of piece, just like all about autism and like the autistic experiences of women and girls, and it was nice. I did think it was going to be a bit more validating and a kind of a bit more like, I kind of want to say personal. I don't mean I thought that like the author was going to be personal, but I just thought that the hidden lives of autistic women meant it was going to be more about like, I guess maybe a bit more confessional even is what I was thinking, as opposed to this is quite like it goes over kind of like what is autism and like maybe some differences in women than in men, but also actually underlining the similarities between the two, but then also maybe the specific difficulties that like being a woman and autistic means that you encounter in society, or like how socially you get punished in a different way and in a difficulter way. Yeah, so you know, it wasn't bad or anything. It was fine. I think if you are autistic and you want somebody to understand your experience and they don't know very much about autism like at all, this might be like a good thing to get them to read, just to like have a bit of background, you know, have a bit of like scientific data, and you don't have to be the one telling them facts about stuff, so then maybe they'll like actually listen to you. I thought I'd also just show you some books that I'm currently reading. I have made some progress in in Beanwood, so that's good. I think I'm filming this not in May anymore, but like I think I read like up to like 120 pages or something, so you know, that's at least something. I'm really enjoying it, I really am. I know I'm going slowly, but that's okay. It's not really about like not enjoying it, it's just that like, you know, yeah, I mean, when I was like, I'm managing to think, and like my experience of brain fog is like lessening, but I was just not in the place to like I couldn't, you know, it's not like I could lie on the floor and listen to an audiobook, like I wasn't able to like concentrate enough to do that. But yeah, it's coming back, so yeah, I've been enjoying reading this in the recent days, and I guess like the past week is maybe when I like kind of have been managing to kind of get back to it and pick it up. And then the other book that, I mean, I'm really not very far at all in this, but I really was trying to read it, and then I was like very ill one Shabbat. Like I really wanted to make a lot of progress on it that Shabbat, but then I was like reading it and then I was like, I have to stop now, which was sad to me. But that's After the Death of Don Juan by Sylvia Townsend Warner, and I'm 24 pages in. But this is pretty short, and like it doesn't, I mean, well, I guess it's actually over 200 pages, so I guess it's not as short as I imagined. But anyway, hopefully I'll make a bit more progress with that. I can't decide whether I want to do like a dedicated video where I talk about like my spring TBR and whether I met my goals and stuff. Obviously, if you've watched my April reading and then also my May reading, you'll know what I did, but like it might be nice to put it all together. I don't know. I think I will do that maybe. I don't know. We'll see how I feel. I'm very contrary. And then another book I actually started reading, partially because I thought it would maybe be useful, is The Care Manifesto, The Politics of Interdependence by The Care Collective, which is a really short book. I read the intro and I read the first chapter. I think I'm just going to try and read like a chapter at a time because they're quite short chapters. I mean, it's kind of what it says on the tin, but yeah, it's going into the different dimensions of care in terms of like how to foreground it in politics, what that means in terms of global structures of care. This was also written during the COVID pandemic, which isn't really over, but in the sense of like the time frame of it, it wasn't before that, it was after it. And yeah, also like thinking about kinship and like the boundaries of care in that sense. So yeah, I think it's like up my street, but also kind of not saying like massively new things, but I also thought it might be interesting to see how things are articulated in it, is I guess one of the reasons why I was like, I'm gonna read it. So yeah, those were the books that I read or read some of in May. Let me know if you've read any of them or what you think, and definitely check out the GoFundMe if you can. Also, like, if I made either a spring favorites video or a what's in my bag video, would any of you be interested? Let me know, and I'll talk to you when I next talk to you. Bye.